Okay, so something amazing actually happened today. I'm not going to say it, but let's focus on what the aspect of the conversation today is going to be about. All right, my name is Esther Wachiku, and of course, this content is basically going on our YouTube page at EstiQ Media, and of course on the website www.esticmedia.com. I have with me Dr. Owana Samuel. Dr. Owana, how are you?
I'm very well. It's nice to see you.
So I'm going to squeeze Dr. Owana. I need to really bring out the other side of him because he's always so reserved. He's always so quiet most of the time, and then you literally see him thinking. He thinks a lot. That's because he's a doctor. He reads. But I'm trying to tell him that in this life, especially in this part of the world, sometimes we need to appreciate the little things that we see around us beyond the books, which is actually cool. So I would like Dr. Owana to be very expressive today. Okay? So welcome to EstiQ Media Uncut. Alright? What are we talking about on this Uncut? So recently there's been a dichotomy when it comes to marriages and relationships. Let's even start with relationships. I would say marriage is too far along. Because of the way the world is getting so fast-paced, alright, there is the lack of patience and understanding to actually take time to understand the person you're in a relationship with. And you now have a lot of people doing what we call comparisons. People are comparing a lot, and it's quite unfortunate to see that actually happening, and it's affecting a lot of relationship threat. Now, Dr. Owana is here because he actually talks a lot on relationship matters. I follow him on his WhatsApp status, and you need to see most of the contents he really puts up there. Beyond being a very strong Christian and an advocate of what the Bible stipulates, but I want him to realistically give us perspective on some certain issues as regards to relationship. Dr. Owana, so let's say for example, I'm in a relationship with a man, whether he's handsome or he's not handsome, but the problem I'm having is the fact that sometimes in the process we actually miscommunicate. So the miscommunication comes from him not seeing things from my perspective sometimes, and me not seeing what he's intended to pass across to me. So at the end of the day, it's like there's a backlash. You know, we both cannot come to a middle ground. It's either we end up going to bed not communicating, or even if we do, there's a strain. How do we get to come to a middle ground, especially when one is not understanding what the other person is saying?
Well, let me say this straight and then correct you. You say if you're in a relationship, you cannot go to bed with a man that is not yours.
No, what I mean.
No, I understand.
What I mean going to bed is not necessarily sleeping. That's we both retire to bed without coming as an impasse because we had an argument.
Go separate ways without
exactly.
talking to. Well, I will start by saying that every relationship, I recommend relationships for Christians that will lead to marriage. And that kind of relationship, kind of a friends, you need to know yourselves. And why this issue prop up, some of the times because you are not friends with the person. I always recommend that for you to have a successful relationship or successful marriage, you have to marry a friend. That's just a simple truth. Maybe you must have heard it somewhere, but I've experimented it. It's a truth. Don't marry someone with the hope that you make the person your friend. The best kind of person to marry or to develop or to start a relationship with that can lead to you walking down the aisle is a friend. Is your friend that understands your weaknesses. Let me tell you who a friend is. A friend is somebody you can share anything with, and you are sure that he's not going to broadcast what you've said to somebody else. So when you're able to find your friend, some people have a lot of friends, but you cannot have more than 3 friends. In fact, most two.
Okay, so but there are
so the person has to be your friend first. If the person is your friend, you will not be able to hurt the person.
But Dr. Owana, do you know that just like what you said, I think most relationships now are relationships that you have people who are friends. I and you, we're friends. We laugh at each other's jokes. We seem to have gotten an understanding of each other. But somehow when we got married 2 or 3 or 4 years down the line, something gets broken. But like you said, we started the relationship as friends. In fact, that was what made us get married in the first place, because we were friends. We had good chemistry. We were good in terms of communication. We seemed to have the same ideals. And whatever it is that is an opposing aspect of my personality is what attracts you. But 3 years, 4 years down the line in that marriage, something broke. And you begin to realize that you dislike this person. You don't even know where the dislike is coming from. Would you attribute it to being spiritually attacked in your marriage, or it is that time was not properly taken at the inception of the relationship to see most of these red flags?
I think there were silences and cover-ups. Because if somebody's my friend, I don't know of others, but if somebody's my friend, I'll open up to you, especially when I know that I'm going somewhere with you. Especially when I know that you're going to be the mother. I'm very passionate about, family. Especially when I know that you're going to bear my children. So what is it that we cannot sit down and talk? So cracks coming in relationship when there or when you have cover-ups, you have areas of silences. You understand? And there's this aspect of your life that you don't want me to know. But when you're out of my sight, you exhibit it outside. I should be able to say, hey, if I yawn without covering my mouth, I should be able to do it in front of you so that you can correct me. You understand?
True.
But when there are cover-ups, and when I'm with you, you understand? Mm-hmm. And now, we just suddenly get married, mm-hmm. and you just discover that, hey, I don't cover my mouth when I yawn. They were cover-ups. So you should be very open with your friend. He or she will now make up his mind. For your friend to make up his mind to say, or her mind to say, mm-hmm. I want to settle with this guy, mm-hmm. with this lady. Mm-hmm. It still means that this person is aware of your weaknesses, mm-hmm. is aware of your strength. Mm-hmm. Do you understand? And then we are not ruling out the fact that there could be areas of influence.
Okay, Dr. Wana, there's something that is around the circumference of marriage. Okay. I'm using the word circumference because circumference is something that is in that secular format. Mm-hmm. It's something that surrounds something. Now, I consider marriage to be a whole. Or if not marriage, relationship, because that's a new thing now. You have people living together without being married. Cohabitating, exactly. Now you now have this trendy cohabitation process between couples, okay? And they do not have any official title to what they're into. But for marriages that already existed, there is a trend now, especially in this part of the world. You're seeing divorcing, you're seeing separation, you're seeing a lot of these marital upheavals. Initially, in time past, I remember in those days, no matter how bad the marriage is, and you go to church, you'll be counseled to please endure and stay in it. Unfortunately, you can't have where some people who endure and stay in it die in the process. And so there have been advocacies on that and saying if you're seeing the red flags where you staying in that marriage will be to the detriment of your well-being or the well-being of your kids, it's better to get out of it. Now, that could be a different scenario. But a situation where it's either there's infidelity in the relationship that takes place and the next thing you want to do is to call off that marriage, or if the infidelity is a consistent pattern in the marriage, the next thing you're like, I can't endure it anymore, or maybe somehow somebody came on board either from the woman's side or from the man's side. I really don't know, but it's actually surprising that to see marriages that have sustained themselves for 10, 12, 15 years and all of a sudden it's dissolved. In this part of the world, it never used to be like that, and it's not happening right now. It's a current trend in marriages, creating fear in the minds of a lot of young people who want to get married or who are actually looking forward to sharing a lifetime with a partner. What's your advice? What should one do with what is currently going on in relationships and marriages, especially in this part of the world?
Yeah, I will start by going to the root of the problem. Number one, there's this severe influence of the Western culture. By Western culture, I'm talking about the global, the global North culture, and you find out that the Nigerian culture is almost everywhere in the world. Mm-hmm. So the Nigerian environment, especially when you have the young people, the young people know that the Nigerian culture is almost taking over the place, and like we can be like the Western world. If I'm tired of this,
can be like the Western world.
Well, in terms of if I'm tired of this relationship, I call it a quit. If I'm tired of this marriage, I call it a quit. And now jump on board with somebody else. So number one, the Western culture, you understand, the globalization. I'm not saying globalization, the globalization of the Western, the globalization of the Western culture, has so much affected our local culture. Africans are not like that.
In terms of influence, Western influence,
Western influence into a marriage, and then they kind of transplant, the marital ideology into the African experience. I'm talking about marriage-wise. Now, how can you avoid this one thing? When you get married and you find out that your husband or your wife is not submitting to anyone, there's a problem. Your husband should have somebody, or your wife should have somebody that no matter what happens, if the person says don't. Yes. So strive for your husband or your wife to have a mentor that he or she respects.
Somebody they look up.
Somebody they look up to. Somebody when they look at this person, they say, no, I cannot do this. If I do this, this person will be so disappointed. When you do that, you can be very sure that that marriage would have some 50-50 chances of succeeding. And then number two, you have to communicate often.
That's true.
Communication. What I do is, most times I ask my wife, is there anything I did wrong today? Can we talk about one or two things and things like that? You understand? And then from there, you'll be able to right the wrongs. And then lastly, which is supposed to be the first. When God is involved in your marriage, when God is involved in your marriage, when God is involved in your relationship, the boat cannot rock. Let me tell you something. Majority of the boat that rocks in marriage is as a result of the fact that God is not in that relationship. Let me tell you, say, God has nothing to do with it. God has everything to do with feelings. If I really love you, I'll not want to kick you out. I want to find out the problem. You say infidelity. Why did you do it? Okay, I forgive you. Don't do that again. You are hitting me. When it has to do with somebody bringing out a knife to kill someone, you know what I'm not saying you should divorce, but you know what? I think the church is beginning to know it now. I recommend separation. Because first you need to be alive to be married.
True.
So I expect the man or the woman to leave the place until the man comes back to his senses. That's just the truth. But the truth remains that any woman you say, or any man you say, I don't want you again, you never loved him. That's the truth. Let me tell you, no offense is so grievous for you not to forgive your spouse. I'm telling you, unless you never love. And especially when you see the remorse in the man. Okay, I'm so sorry, this thing I did. I don't know how it happened and things like that. And then you let go.
Alright, so I would like to make this as short as simple, to be honest with you, because I don't know when next I'm going to come across Dr. Uwana. But you can check out Dr. Uwana's work on Google, right? Yes, on Google. Just go on Google and type Dr. Uwana Samuel. You see a lot of his work. He's a communicator big time. He's also one that is full with unbridled content. So in case you want consultation when it has to do with anything concerning putting your space out there digital wise, you can actually speak with Dr. Uwana. Or if you intend to set up a radio station, a television station, and you're looking for someone who can give you adequate content, honestly, Dr. Uwana is very good at it. Currently, right now, he's a doctor at the University of Lagos, Mass Comm department to be precise. So you see that I'm not talking to a small boy.
All right, thank you so much, Esther.
Yes. So I'm actually excited to have had again, as communicators, we always try as much as possible to put our content out there as soon as possible. Just record it, put it, and then keep it, because otherwise you wouldn't come across that opportunity. And because of the nature of work, most times it's not really easy to come across when you have resource persons like this to give you the kind of content that you require. So why don't you stay on this space? Most times you can actually download this content on YouTube. Just go on EstiQ Media, EstiQ Media on YouTube, and also the video will be uploaded on the website www.estiqmedia.com. EstiQ.com. Just go on there, check the categories. You see the visual podcast and the audio podcast. You click on it and then watch any content of your choice. Remember that this is a new year. Make sure that you have a plan for the upcoming year. Make sure that you stay alert. Be spiritual. It's important to keep yourself spiritually alert too, because now times are really not as good as we want it to be. However, let God just keep us, and then we'll see the year 2023. You guys have an amazing day. Bye. Ciao.